Good evening, everyone. How are we? Yes, it's a little bit dark this evening, isn't it? Because it's the first stream since the clocks went back. I'm conscious that a lot of people last week said just kind of don't get too into the video or too into the stream until the ads are finished. So that's what we'll endeavour to do now. So I'll just talk rubbish for 30 seconds or so, and then for another 59 minutes and 30 seconds after that. Cheers, everyone. How's everyone doing? How are you doing? Oh, I know I say it every week, but there's nothing quite like the taste of the first one, is there? Who we got in? Ian's in, Graham, Alan, Tim's in, and who else we got? Sarji. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ozzy. I hear you've been getting a new guitar, mate. Ibanez Rj421, lovely looking thing. I was quite tempted by one of those myself, fairly recently, but as you know, I have another twin humbucker bolt-on neck guitar arriving next weekend. Evening, Porrig. Oh, DME, you're still working, are you, Porrig, mate? Yes, well, I've only just finished myself. What have I been working on? Well, I'll kind of tie that in with what's coming up on the channel this week, because I usually kind of give a bit of a rundown. As you know, it's Halloween tomorrow. It is tomorrow, isn't it? The shops have been full of Halloween stuff for what seems like about 6 months now, but yes, so there's a bit of a Halloween themed jam going up in the morning, or lunchtime tomorrow, where I kind of show you a little trick you can use to take some rather easy chords and make them sound quite spooky. Oh, is it not you, Ozzy? Sorry, I thought it was. I thought I saw that you'd got a new guitar. Never mind. Well, you know, now we've planted the seed in your mind, mate. Right, yes, you can't afford a new guitar. Well, yes, we've all been there, haven't we, mate? Then on, where was it? Yes, on Monday, there's the solo from the first ever heavy rock single I ever bought. That's what's on Monday's solo analysis. So, I'll chuck a few clues out there what it might be, because we usually have this bit of a guessing game, don't we? I sort of started getting into heavy rock when I was about 11 or 12, possibly, and I was born in 67. So if I'm about 11 or 12, think about what kind of heavy rock was around then. Anyway, it's the solo from one of those. Then on Tuesday, we're talking about why I love this album, and it's an absolute belter of an album, and you'll have to wait till Tuesday to find out what that one is, but absolute classic album from 1990. Then on Wednesday, there's going to be a lesson of some description. Not entirely sure what it's going to be. No, not Thin Lizzy. Not Crazy Horses by the Osmonds, neither. Great song, though. Not Ace of Spades. I've already done that solo. I'll give you the clue. Let's think. This will be giving it away, won't it? If I just say British Steel. So no, not Saxon or Rainbow. Somebody will get it now. I've said British Steel. Yeah, Judas Priest. That's it. So what big single did they have round about that time, late 70s? John, have you ever had stage fright? Genuinely, no. No. because I think I had the good luck to start gigging when I was a brash, abrasive adolescent, when I was just kind of full of myself and didn't really, you know what you're like when you're a teenager. That's when I started gigging, and I think that cockiness kind of carried me through. No, not breaking the law. Living after midnight. You got it there, Brad. Yes, indeed. Yes, I still remember that. It was around about the time when I was starting to get into heavy rock, around about that late 70s, and I think it was probably songs like Black Betty by Ram Jam and Since You've Been Gone by Rainbow and Living After Midnight. I think Living After Midnight was the first proper heavy rock single that I bought. You've had stage fright, played at the Bikers Festival to 2,000 of them in a mod-based band. Yeah, I bet. As a mate of mine used to say, I bet you went down like Bobby Crush on an oil rig. If you don't know who Bobby Crush is, Google him. But no, I honestly can't say that I've ever got, kind of butterflies in my stomach before going on stage. I've been a little bit apprehensive once or twice about, when I've been in bands where, let's say, not everyone in the band is as professional as they should be, and you think, is he going to mess up that kind of that tricky bit in that song tonight? So you a little bit on edge over things like that. But once that particular potential crisis is averted, then no. It was cool when Bad News got beat up at Donington. Yes, I remember that. Oh, you went down okay, did you, Steve? Dearie me. No, Bobby Crush wasn't the Chase Me guy. No, Bobby Crush was the he was like Britain's answer to Liberace. He was a piano player, and kind of was kind of the fluffy shirt and the kind of the bouffant 70s hair. He was on Opportunity Knocks just about every week. He was probably your granny's favorite piano player. Ever had to deal with a bad audience? Thinking some village gigs can be a bit territorial. We were playing at one band I was in. We were playing at some place up in, I think it was a club in Sunderland, in an area of Sunderland called Downhill. Yes, indeed. And the audience just kind of erupted into, it was like something out of the Keystone Cops. It was just fists and blood and snot and teeth flying everywhere, and we just kept on playing. They didn't kind of direct any of their anger at us, and still don't to this day don't know what it was about, but it did kind of kick off big style, and we just kept on playing, enjoyed ourselves. It was like that whole kind of to me anyway, it felt like that whole kind of spectator thing had kind of swiveled around. We were the ones watching the show, really, rather than them watching us. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? Bobby Crush eventually became a TV presenter. I didn't know that. Peter's just ordered a Harley Benton Fusion T green telly-style guitar, ebony fretboard, stainless steel frets, Wilkinson trem locking tune, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it is a lot of guitar for the dosh, mate. Yeah. You know me, I'm a big fan of Harley Bentons. My ex from long ago was a singer in the clubs. I drove her everywhere. Her brother came with us to a Sunderland with a Newcastle shirt on. Yeah, it didn't end. I can see how that wouldn't end very well. Yes. Where are we? Oh, Ian's in. How are you, Ian? How the new act's coming on? It's coming on very well. I've got some new pictures, which I might put up as a sort of a final update video where the finish is going onto the guitar, and dearie me, it looks really good. That maple top is really starting to pop now. Absolutely gorgeous. Just bought a new Sire bass. My God, fantastic for the money. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that Sire stuff. Isn't that the one they're also kind of badged up as Larry Carlton guitars? Got a Harley Benton PB50 bass today for recording. I don't know much about basses, but it feels and sounds great. Yeah, I'm thinking about treating myself to a new bass, because that kind of one you can see on the wall behind me, I've had it about 15 years. It owes me absolutely nothing. I think I paid about, well, certainly under 100 quid for it about 15 years ago on eBay. No idea what the brand is because it doesn't have a badge on it. But I just needed a bass of some description, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I should get something a little bit better. Anyway, more beer. As always, the Morrison's export, because it's nice. I've developed quite a taste for this. Yes. Yeah, I've used that one myself there, Pete. What on the subject of that, what is the funniest heckle that any of you have ever experienced? You know, those kind of times when you actually kind of can't help but laugh at the insult that's been hurled at you on stage. When does whiskey season start? It already has, mate. It's just if I was to spend an hour kind of going through whiskey the way I'm going through this beer, the stream would get rather messy. But yes, I shall be going onto the shorts later. Special day for me today. Received my Squire offset paranormal telly. Won it from Guitar Giveaway, 99 pence per ticket. Well, that's got to be a bargain, hasn't it? Yes. Never won anything like that, me. The last guitar competition I entered was back in 2008. Does anybody remember that competition that Guitarist magazine ran, where there was a Walter Trout song, and they put it up on their website to download, and the idea was they'd stripped all the lead guitar off it, and I think the song was Welcome to the Human Race, and the idea was that you recorded some lead guitar on this Walter Trout song, and Walter would judge whichever one was the best. And this specifically said, don't do a Walter Trout impersonation because that ain't going to win. And then the guy who won had basically done a Walter Trout impersonation. What do you reckon on Justin Johnson? Don't know him, mate. Funniest heckle, you don't gent. Yeah, my tipple is this stuff at the moment, and then I've got a bottle of famous grouse downstairs for later. Were you conceived on the M6? That's where most of the accidents happen around here. The funniest one I ever had was, it was at some dismal working men's club where a voice at the back of the room just piped up, "By the acoustics are better now you've emptied the place," which was, I just thought, fair enough. Hi, John. Have you ever busked, and have you ever seen any amazing guitar buskers? I've thought about going busking a few times, but it's easy if you've got a decent singing voice, and all you need really then is an acoustic guitar. But I've got a voice that only a mother could love, and I don't really sing. So then it's a case of, right, okay, so I've got to kind of think about logistically kind of taking an electric guitar and some backing tracks and an amplification system, and it's all got to run off batteries, and just essentially kind of rehearsing an entire day's worth of material just to play for change. Nah. So no, I've never done that. The best busker I've ever seen is he used to be in Redcar, actually. A guy just playing kind of really, really good sax, just with backing tracks, and you could get requests out of him, and if you didn't have the backing track, he'd just kind of play it, and just you could hear that he was, or you could sensory rather, that he was just kind of playing by ear and winging it, and he's really, really good. I once gave a busker a $5 to stop singing and clear off. I once bussed in Camden, made £30 in an hour, spent it in an hour too. Yes. Yeah, that's another one, Stevie. Yeah, can you play in a monastery garden? Well, often play there then. Yes, indeed. With your Gordon Smith Nashville telly and your new signature, will your Harley Bentons become redundant? Or are you from the you can never have enough guitar school of thought? Well, what Harley Bentons have I got at the moment? I've got an acoustic, and that is played whenever I need an acoustic sound. I've got the PRS copy, the CST24, and that has very strong sentimental value for me. So that will, will continue to get played. And I've got the you can just kind of see it in the corner there, the Gilmore-esque Strat copy there, and I use that for whenever I need a trem. So those are the only Harley Bentons I've got at the moment. Thank you, Frank, and best wishes from Redcar to you, mate. I remember the winner guitar boxes competitions on cereal boxes in the early 60s, a bit before my time, I'm afraid. Damon Gofford, Badly Drawn Boy, went busking at the height of his popularity and made £7.50. He thought it was marvellous. Yeah, I did see a video where Joe Bonamassa was playing a gig in New York somewhere. I think it might have been Madison Square Garden, probably was. And he took a hidden camera and he disguised himself and went out busking on the streets the day before the gig and made an absolute pittance. We must remember Mark Knopfler as a singer is the world's foremost guitarist. Yes. Well, the thing, Mark Knopfler, he fits into that sort of category, doesn't he? A bit like Tom Petty would have done, and I guess people like Neil Young. They're what Rick Beato calls character singers. They're never going to kind of win any, kind of vocal competitions, but they've got a characterful voice that fits their music perfectly. I don't even have that. I do like Knopfler's voice. It's, Bob Dylan, there's another one, although I think Bob Dylan is, for me, Bob Dylan's high point was round about Nashville Skyline. That's a sort of era that I like. And it's just, increasingly after that, he just started to sound a bit like Popeye to me. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen all of those Brian Johnson Life on the Road with the Mark Knopfler one was great. The one I really enjoyed and was surprised by was the one with Dolly Parton. They got on like a house on fire. It was, odd coupling, really. Yeah, Tom Waits has an odd voice. I've got a couple of his albums. I have to be in the right mood for Tom Waits, but when I am, that sort of, it's not really a live album because it wasn't. It was more like he brought a crowd into the studio, didn't he? For Nighthawks at the Diner. That's a fantastic album. Blue Valentines. That's another great album. You know, what's that track on there? Christmas Card from a Hooker. That's a fantastic track. What's the other one? Heart Attack and Vine. That's one of my favourite Waits albums. That one. Where are we? Yeah, the Brian Johnson, Paul Rodgers one was a good one. Yep. What's your thoughts on acoustic amps? Do they deserve the hype? Well, here's the thing, and this is what I've never really. I get a lot of beginner students who will buy an electroacoustic guitar, and I just don't get why. Because it's like you know, I can plug it in and it makes it electric. No, it doesn't. It just makes it a louder version of an acoustic, and you're just going to be playing in the house, isn't it? You know, why do you need to amplify an acoustic guitar in the house? But if you're playing live and you want to amplify your acoustic, then again, I'm not going to say it's that I don't see the point, but I kind of don't really, because isn't that what the PA is for? You just kind of put it into the PA. You know, but I mean, they are a thing that's out there and people buy them, so some people must find a use for them. You should review the Positive Grid Spark. Yes, I did think about getting one, and then I decided not to. Largely because I'm happy with this little Yamaha THR5. That does all of my practice amp needs. And for recording, I've already got guitar rig and bias amp and like a bunch of other amp sims on the PC over there that I use to record on. So it's like I'd be duplicating a lot of the stuff that I already have, and a lot of the stuff like that built-in kind of thing where it'll play a chord, you play a chord sequence and it'll make a jam track from it. I doubt if I would use that very much, if at all. I mean, if Positive Grid want to send me one to review, then I'm not going to say no. But you know, I mean, let's face it, I'm hardly in a position with like less than 20,000 subscribers to start knocking on their door and say, you know, send me some free stuff. Jimmy Page said he put the microphones for acoustic guitars and drums way back from the instruments in the studio so they can sing. Yeah, well, I mean, there's all of the kind of stories, isn't there, about him recording the drums in the stairwell of his kind of stately home. Was it Headley Grange, wasn't it? I wouldn't get a Spark, but fancy a new THR30 if a good upgrade from the THR10C, which I've already. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, the thing I like about this little THR5 is that it just sounds good and it's easy to set up. And, you know, it's as I say, when I'm kind of playing guitar seriously, I'm kind of going into guitar rig or something. But you know, when I just want to kind of just noodle around, then the THR is fine. Seeing the Amazon Basics pedals. See, I didn't know Amazon did pedals, but I shall check them out. Yes. Why don't you try and start an affiliation with Toman or some other music company? It would help you out a lot, and no doubt you'd get some goodies. I did a while ago. I contacted Toman. This is when I was like, you know, very, very fledgling, when I had, you know, well under, I think, I don't think I had even 2,000 subs back then. And I didn't get a reply. So maybe I'll go banging on their door again. I bought a Yamaha THR5 instead of a Spark. Some bloke off YouTube who has a live stream Friday night convinced me with his review. Yeah, well, you don't want to listen to him. Where are we? I'm getting the best sound for my money, and as possible. I love getting the best sound for as little money as possible. It's a challenge. It is. Now, I have got a bit of a tone challenge coming up shortly. I'm trying to get the Gary Moore's tone from the Still Got the Blues album using free or very cheap plugins. If anybody knows the track "Moving On," the album opener, that's the kind of tone I'm going for. And I don't have a 1959 Les Paul that used to belong to Peter Green, so obviously I'm kind of stymied there. But I'm using I think it's the Harley Benton PRS alike I'm using for that one. I've got it pretty close so far, but I'm going to be enlisting the help of my old mucker, Steve Hoggett. But he's busy working on a pretty high-profile project at the moment that's, he's doing to pay the bills. So I'm waiting for him to get some free time to kind of pitch in and bring his, vast skills to bear on the project. So keep an eye open for that one. What model was your Vox Tone Lab? It was the Tone Lab ST. Great little pedal. Guitar Rig has Still Got the Blues preset in the user library. I'll send it. Oh, okay. I must admit I haven't looked in that part of it there. I was just, I can't believe I've missed that. I was just thinking, well, okay. I know from interviews that Gary was using a Governor pedal and a JTM 45. So the closest I've got actually to it is with that that soft drive free Governor VST that I used, that I did a video on a few weeks ago, going into the bias amp JTM 45 or British 45, as I think it's called in bias amp. That's a pretty good approximation of the sound, but it's not quite there. The Blue Cat free amp does a pretty good job as well, but as I say, I'm still kind of working on it. It'd be cool if I could get that tone, or as close to it as possible. But I want to get a little bit closer to it before I do the video. Oh, it's on the website, not in the factory presets. Well, that's why I won't have found it then, Kieran. But yeah, ping it over to us. That'd be great. Evening, Jero. How are you, mate? You use pedals in front of the interface. Yeah, well, I mean, whatever works for you, Ozzy. The thing I like about plugins, and I am a recent convert, as you know, is I love the fact that I can change my mind later and think, oh, I wonder what that would sound like playing through a Fender amp rather than a Vox, or playing through a Vox amp rather than a Marshall, or something like that. And you can kind of chop and change. It does lead you down a few rabbit holes every now and again, because you do kind of get into, option anxiety about, oh, I'll just try one more setting. But, it's nice to have the flexibility. Gary used Strats when he played it live. Now, that's interesting, because I've got the, somewhere still, I've got the VHS of the Still Got the Blues to it, and I'm pretty sure he played a Les Paul on that song on the video, and he certainly played a Les Paul. Well, it wasn't a Les Paul, actually. It was a Heritage, the kind of the kind of the company that work out of the old Gibson factory. It was one of their Les Paul style guitars that he used when I saw him live to play pretty much the whole gig. I don't think he brought out a Strat until the encore, when he played the Loner as an encore, and he played that on his old red Strat. Anyway, 2 down. Where are we? Who are your favourite bass players, John? Would love to see a video of your favourite players and performances. Yeah, favourite bass player. Well, I mean, there's one name looms large over all of them, really, and that's got to be John Entwistle. You know, he was just an immense player. And I've got to tell you, I mean, you know, sorry to give a shameless plug to a mate of mine, but Steve Hoggett. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I will make sure that gets passed on. You are a gentleman. Yeah, Steve Hoggett, fantastic bass player. He's kind of like a cross between Jaco Pastorius and Billy Sheehan, all rolled into one, really. What was that? Sorry, I missed that. Somebody saying about get your VHS converted to DVD. I've actually, I'm ahead of you there. It's, I'll show you. It's that. All of my live gigs and everything, all of my old VHSs are on here now. So, you know, and, you know, it's something to do while she's watching her soaps. Yeah, Danny Thompson. Yeah, I remember, I can't remember. Again, I'll tell you where I saw him. It was at a Guitarist show. You remember when Guitarist magazine used to do these kind of little mini NAMM type shows? I used to go to all of those, and he was demoing. I think it was he was playing double bass quite a bit, but I think he also kind of picked up one of those headless status basses at one point. Who is your favorite rhythm guitarist? Probably Wilco Johnson. He's the guy who blew me away back when I first saw him on that old BBC show, Rock School. You know, he's just that kind of rhythm stroke lead style of playing. It was the first time I'd seen anybody do that. And then, you know, obviously then you kind of start pulling at that thread and you discover, oh yeah, well, Hendrix kind of played like that, and then Stevie Ray, and, you know. But the guy who I can never tire of listening to is Wilco Johnson. Yeah, Mark King. The thing about Mark King is, I mean, he's a great technician, but I don't know, Level 42's music just never really kind of touched me here. Do you know what I mean? I can admire the intricacy of it, and I can admire the musicianship and the way he plays like that and sings at the same time. But it just doesn't really kind of grab me, I'm afraid. I saw Wilco at the Soulfest about 7 years ago. Brilliant. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I've got to tell you, and I've banged on about this in videos before, but I've got to kind of just say it again. If you don't know that album that he did with Roger Daltrey, Going Back Home, I implore you, go and buy it or download it or listen to it or YouTube it or something. When he recorded that album, he thought he had weeks left. And just the passion and verve and just the spirit in his playing on that album is just something to behold. Another great album video on Eric Johnson, John. I'm really enjoying. Oh, well, thank you, Craig. Thank you very much. Those are videos that are just me getting kind of letting off steam, basically, where I'm kind of just sitting blethering about something that I love. If you look at the number of views those videos are getting, they are kind of in a bit of there's peaks and there's troughs, and those videos are tending to sit in the troughs. So if any of you people out there are on and I'm sure you are, FaceTube or Twitter Face or whatever, like I'm not, then feel free to share them. What's for dinner tonight? Homemade chicken dansak. We had a takeaway last weekend, and that was just to celebrate the wife getting a new job, which she's loving, by the way. She's absolutely having a fine old time. Great crowd of people to work with, and she's really, apart from the fact that she's enjoying kind of going out and earning a bit of money again, she's really enjoying the banter and everything. Where are we? Daltrey's vocals on that album. That's the thing. That's something, Daltrey, I doubt if he could do that big scream in Won't Get Fooled Again like he did back on the album version of the song. But he's like Ian Gillan for me. Those two guys, their voices have really matured. And, they've got like this elder statesman quality about them now. Just that the last, I haven't got the latest Deep Purple album, although it's on my to-do list to get it. But the last album, the one there's a fantastic documentary about called From Here to Infinite. The last album is called Infinite. It's a great, great Deep Purple album, I think. Mark King got a car engine in his thumb. What about Malcolm Young as a rhythm guitarist and Tony Levin as a bass player? Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, how can you ignore the... I should have really said Malcolm, wouldn't I? But the first name that popped into my head was Wilco. But yes, I mean, Malcolm, it was the engine room in AC/DC, wasn't he? And just that big sound that underpinned all of the stuff. And you know what? As anybody who has ever tried playing an AC/DC rhythm guitar part will attest, just nailing that kind of pocket and that groove it's harder than you think. Hi, John. What is your opinion on Schecter guitars? I own 4 of them, and they're fantastic. I've played a few, and the only Schecter guitar I've ever coveted, and I can't remember the model, but imagine kind of a Les Paul with like kind of set neck and everything, twin humbuckers, but it's Strat shaped with a beautiful kind of flame maple top. One of my students has one of those, and it's an absolutely gorgeous thing to behold, and it plays. I mean, basically, if you breathe on the strings, then you can fret the notes. It's such a slinky low action. Schecter were a brand that I became aware of in the 80s because one of my favorite albums from that period. Does anybody else have fond memories of that Power Station album, where it was basically like half of Chic, wasn't it? It was Tony Thompson, and I think he was on drums. Yeah, it was Tony Thompson from Chic and Robert Palmer on vocals, and then the Taylor brothers from Duran Duran, of all things, doing that sort of supergroup album with that incredible version of Get It On, and I remember seeing it was Schecter guitars they were playing, and of course Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler played a Schecter at Live Aid. So yeah, they were guitars that I was switched on to very early on. I like James Hetfield as a rhythm player as well as his lead stuff. Yeah, I'll go along with that. Again, it's that solid thing, isn't it, of just kind of hitting that groove. And I remember seeing an interview with Guthrie Govan. Now there's a guitarist. you know, if ever you start feeling like you're kind of getting good on the guitar, go and listen to some Guthrie Govan. And you know, he was talking about, you know, kind of playing in soul bands and stuff, and he said, and it's just actually quite therapeutic, just kind of seeing how kind of tight you can lock in with the snare and everything, just a really kind of, and it's just that sort of rhythm guitar mentality of, I think it was Freddie Green, who was the guitarist, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the guitarist in Count Basie's orchestra, who said, a rhythm guitarist, you shouldn't notice that they're there. It should just sound like the snare drum is playing a B flat, or that the hi-hat is playing, a C sharp minor or something. And that's the kind of the thing I enjoy in a rhythm guitarist, where it just kind of fits into the overall pocket, as they say. Yeah, I mean, Guthrie is, the thing about Guthrie is I don't think he knows how good he is, because he's always so self-deprecating in interviews, and you can tell he's not just fishing for compliments or, you know, false modesty. It just genuinely is that, you know, he thinks he's just an average Joe. He's not. He's just, you know, the next level. I didn't know that. Evening, Jeff, by the way. Jeff Hately's in My Mate from France. I didn't know that Duran Duran did make me smile. Yeah, I shall have to check that out. I was, because like many people in the 80s, you know, because in the 1980s, I was, you know, kind of a teenager. And if you're a teenager and you're into rock and you're into blues and you're into, you know, starting to get into jazz, and then there's this band called Duran Duran, who all the teeny bopper girls are into, you kind of dismiss them, or I certainly did. It took that whole Power Station thing for me to really kind of realize, actually, these guys are pretty good. But I didn't know they did that. So there you go. I still kind of have a bit of a mental block on Simon Le Bon's voice, though. Yes, I mean, there's a guy who got lucky, really, isn't it? Isn't it? I don't know if John Taylor's a Geordie. I don't know, mate. Might be. Not saying he isn't, but I always thought they were all sort of like kind of Birmingham lads. I thought they were. Anyway. Where are we? I believe the Taylors from Duran Duran were actually sisters. No, fair enough. I'm not sure what's going on there. There's obviously a whole other conversation going on in the chat. Best bass player Jack Bruce, song with Gary Moore and Ginger Baker. They were loud. Yes. Now there was a tour I would have loved to have seen. You know, that BBM tour, that was a fantastic album. And, you know, and just the fact that they were playing, weren't they playing kind of little places, relatively small places? You know, I'm sure they could have filled arenas, but I kind of remember reading a review in Q magazine that they were playing places like Ronnie Scott's and those kind of places. Hi, John. I thought Rick Parfitt was a great Power Engine. Not too shabby. Yeah, now there's a thing. There's a YouTube video. It's actually not a YouTube video, but it's a video that's on YouTube of Rick when he was still alive, doing some instructional kind of thing. And he just sits down on a bar stool and plays through it, and plays, I think, Caroline or something like that. And you just see the energy that he puts into it, and just the kind of grit that he plays with. You know, it's not all about the kind of, you know, million notes per second. And didn't he play with like ridiculously heavy gauge strings as well? And you know, he's just really just kind of cranking it out and tight with the rhythm, so unbelievably kind of in the groove. Yeah, Podrick remembers the power station. Oh, there's the fireworks going off. The dog will be climbing the walls now. What do I reckon to Sting? I actually like him. You know, I mean, his voice is, you know, it was a breath of fresh air when those first Police records came out, and it was just, when had you ever heard vocals like that? And, you know, it's just, I love the way that he kind of, I love his songwriting, and, you know, just, I think he's just a consummate musician. I don't know what he's like as a person. I've never met him. But, you know, musically, I think he's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, nice of the dog to join us. Yeah, as I say, it's our dog hates fireworks, and no matter what we do, we can't calm him down. The advice we've had from the vet is just kind of don't make a fuss, because if he sees you making a fuss, it kind of panics him out even more. What would be your Desert Island disc? Well, you're allowed 8 records on Desert Island discs, aren't you? If we're talking songs, then that might be something I might do in a video, actually. That's an idea for a video, isn't it? Yes, I might do that at some point. But if I could only listen to one tune, one song for the rest of my life, if I was marooned on a desert island and I had one, am I allowed an album? Yes, I am allowed an album. It would probably be it would probably be Black Rose by Thin Lizzy, possibly. I don't know. Rick Beato did an analysis of Sting's songwriting a while back. Was really interesting. Yeah, I find Rick's videos fascinating a lot of the time. Your dog couldn't care less about fireworks. War Bob is a border terrorist, though. Hard as nails. Yes. Yeah, border terriers are. They do have that. What's the word? Indefatigability. Waiting for an Alibi has got a great solo, indeed. Yes, it's. I mean, there's not a bad track on that album, really, is there? Your thoughts on Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd? Right, this might be sacrilege, but yeah, I can just kind of ignore all that period of Pink Floyd's output, to be honest with you. Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Saucer Full of Secrets. Yeah, not my cup of tea. It all started coming together for me round about, I guess, Echoes, round about then. Or Dark Side of the Moon, that kind of period. And then you had, Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, to be honest with you, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and, The Wall, and then great albums, but those are the ones that stick in my memory for Pink Floyd. Oh, controversial. Well, maybe it is. Anyone see Ozzy's new TV program about Ghost? Some interesting stuff on it. Yeah, not my cup of tea. Oh, the dog has joined us. I've just noticed. There we go. You can't see him, but he's laid down behind me. Yeah, Division Bell is great. That's a good album. It doesn't sound like a Floyd album. not Division Bell, Momentary Lapse of Reason. I kind of see that as a Dave Gilmour solo album, really, even though, you know, Nick Mason and Rick Wright were on it. But, you know, it just, I think it has more in common with Dave Gilmour's solo stuff. But Division Bell does sound like a great Floyd album. Oh, you saw him come in, did you? I was obviously busy talking to you lot, so I didn't see him. Bring out the Frank Zappa conversation. Yes, okay. Now, I'm Frank Zappa. You tend to find that people who like Frank Zappa can give you absolute chapter and verse on all of his albums, and, you know, kind of have long conversations about them. Or other people have never even heard a Frank Zappa album. I'm somewhere in between. I like Hot Rats. Probably that's my favourite sort of standalone album. But the rest of the stuff, I've just got like a Frank Zappa compilation that I listen to, which is, you know, kind of, you know, various things from, you know, like Valley Girl and Montana and, you know, Yellow Snow and all that sort of stuff. But Andy Taylor was from Tynemouth and raised in Cullercoats. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. Evening, Dan. Dan from Scott Guitars is in. Yes. Fine guitar builder. I recommended Frank Zappa to you back when I was teaching you, Craig. Well, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, has anyone seen that gig that was, I think it was on the BBC all years ago, but it's Zappa Plays Zappa, where it's Dweezil with kind of like his dad's band, basically, and they're going out and playing all the old Frank stuff. It's a fantastic gig. Of course you can, Ozzy. Yeah, leave a link in the just put it in the comments. If you put it in the comments, I'll pin it, mate. No worries. The dog is called Taylor, and bless him, he's not a fan of fireworks. He's not a fan of border terriers neither, it has to be said. Memories of Kate Bush. Well, yes. I mean, she was just beamed in from another planet, wasn't she? You know, completely. I mean, David Gilmour pretty much discovered her, didn't he? You know, I mean, has anyone else ever tried to learn Wuthering Heights and figure out the chords? It's, you know, she's just a bit weird, but in a good way. The rest of the Zappa family didn't appreciate Dweezil going out on the road. I didn't know that. I did see a documentary about that, and Moon Zappa, and I can't remember what was Frank's wife called, Dweezil's mum, and they both took part in that and appeared to be giving it their blessing. I did remember reading some kind of scuttlebutt somewhere that Dweezil and Omid Zappa had a bit of a falling out, but I didn't know there was any kind of big rift. Where are we? Another Guinness. Are you on the Guinness, are you tonight, Bob? Dearie me. I do like Guinness. The only thing is it doesn't tend to like me. I remember getting absolutely mortaled on Guinness when I was on my 18th birthday. It was actually Guinness and Here's a blast from the past, Merry Down Cider, mixed together into something that they used to call a black velvet. And dearie me, I got so ridiculously drunk on that Guinness hasn't really agreed with me ever since. I've got a story for you about Guinness, actually. It's to do with that famous advertising slogan, Guinness is good for you. Does anyone know where that came from? Because I do. I think it was the poet Seamus Heaney that they hired for this, and basically what happened was the top brass from the brewery at Guinness said, "Would you write us an advertising slogan?" And of course, Seamus said, "Of course I will, but I've got to understand the product. Send me a crate of Guinness around." So they did, and the crate of Guinness arrived at his home, and and I'll get back to you. I'll give you your slogan in a couple of days. And a couple of days later, they kind of they turned up at the door and said, "Have you got the slogan for us, Mr. Heaney?" He said, "I sure have. Yes, I have." And he says, "What is it then?" He says, "Guinness. It makes you drunk." And we can't use that. So just on the spur of the moment, they thought Guinness is good for you. And that's how that slogan came about. They used to give you some Guinness in hospital. Oh, well, where do I sign up? Does anybody else remember those Guinness adverts in the 70s with that kind of, was it the Minor Bird or the Toucan or something? John, speaking about Pink Floyd, did you ever hear the two very hard rock tunes from the More soundtrack album in 1969? The songs were Ibiza Bar and the other was the Nile Song. Was two jamming songs. No, I can't say I did, but I'll look into that. Yeah, changing the nut on a Pacifica, that is a bit tricky because I was looking, when I had my Pacifica, I was looking at changing the nut on that, and a replacement nut to fit a Pacifica is a bit of a tricky one to find. Do you remember Jim Armstrong from over here? He played some great guitar on a Guinness ad. Can't say I do, mate. If you have a headache, then take nothing because nothing acts faster than Anadin. Yeah. Again, another little bit of trivia that I've got for you. I once heard a talk by the guy who thought that slogan up, and he said, "Well, Anadin is just a kind of a brand name for paracetamol, and ours doesn't work any faster than anybody else's proprietary brand of paracetamol. So how about we say nothing acts faster than ours?" And that was where that one came from. Where are we? You have to find a nut blank and file them down for Pacificas. Thinner at the nut than a fender. Yeah, that's what I ended up having to do. I think I can't remember. It's been that long since I had the Pacifica. Anyway, chaps, we've been on an hour, and I've just noticed that I'm starting to talk more rubbish than I usually do talk. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for turning up. It is a constant source of amazement to me that so many of you pitch up here on a Friday evening and watch a fat lad drink beer. But thank you anyway. Stay tuned for the video, the Halloween video that's going up tomorrow. It's a good one, I can promise you that. And loads of great videos coming up in the week. But till then, once again, everyone, time, gentlemen, please.